Jack Harper took a deep breath as he walked into the grand chamber of the Galactic Council. The massive room stretched upward into darkness, with thousands of seats arranged in rising circles. Representatives from over 300 alien civilizations watched him with varying expressions of curiosity, disdain, and fear. As the first human commander to stand before this ancient institution, Jack felt the weight of Earth's future on his shoulders. His blue uniform, bearing the emblem of the United Earth Defense Force, stood out starkly against the colorful garments of the alien delegates. "The representative from Earth may now address the council," announced the tall, silvery being who served as chief speaker. Jack stepped forward, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. The holographic display behind him activated, showing images of Earth, its colonies, and the recent devastation they had suffered. "For 73 Earth years," Jack began, his voice steady, "humanity has encountered species from beyond our world. In that time, we have been studied without consent, attacked without provocation, and exploited without compensation." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. "We have sent 17 formal requests to this council for protection. All were ignored or dismissed. We have filed 43 complaints of territorial violations. Not one received a response." Jack paused, looking directly at the chief speaker. "So we stopped asking for help." The screen behind him changed to show Earth's new defense fleet. The sleek ships represented technology that had advanced centuries beyond what humanity should possess at this stage. "Necessity forced us to evolve rapidly," Jack continued. "The attacks on our lunar base last year, the abduction of children from our Australian territories, the destruction of our Mars colony 6 months ago. Each time we were attacked, we learned, we adapted, we grew stronger." A delegate from the Vraxian Empire stood up, their scaled skin flushing red with anger. "The human exaggerates. They are a primitive species, who just destroy your invasion fleet at Proxima Centauri." Jack interrupted calmly. "With technology you claimed we could not possibly possess." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. The Vraxian delegate sat down abruptly. Jack pressed a small device on his wrist. The holographic display showed footage of the recent battle, Earth ships using quantum disruption weapons that tore through supposedly impenetrable Vraxian shields. "Humanity has a message for this council, and for every civilization in this galaxy," Jack said, his voice now carrying an edge that silenced the room. "This ends now. All incursions into Sol system space will cease immediately. All research projects involving humans without explicit consent will be terminated. All captive humans will be returned unharmed." The chief speaker leaned forward. "And if these demands are not met?" Jack smiled slightly. "We have discovered something interesting about reality. The laws of physics as we understand them are more flexible than previously believed. Our quantum disruption technology can be deployed on a much larger scale." The display showed a simulation of a star system where ship engines suddenly failed, weapons systems collapsed, and communication networks went silent. "We can create zones where your technology simply stops working," Jack explained. "We cannot and will not be invaded, studied, or exploited any longer." An elderly delegate from one of the oldest species raised a trembling hand. "This is unprecedented. You threaten the entire galactic community." Jack shook his head. "No, we are offering peace and cooperation to those who respect our boundaries. But to those who see us as resources or test subjects," he gestured to the simulation, "we offer a simple choice. Leave us alone, or face consequences no shield can block, no ship can outrun." The chamber remained silent as Jack stepped back from the podium. "Humanity's warning has been delivered," he said quietly. "We await your response." 6 months before Jack Harper's address to the Galactic Council, Lisa Kendrick huddled inside a maintenance shaft on the Mars colony. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead as she watched through a tiny viewport. Outside, tall gray aliens with 4 arms methodically moved through the colony's main dome, their weapons glowing with strange energy. Lisa clutched the data drive against her chest. As the colony's chief communications officer, she had managed to record everything. The unexpected shutdown of the early warning systems, the Vraxian ships landing without authorization, and the horrifying efficiency with which they killed the colonists. Collection complete, one of the aliens announced in stilted English. No further specimens required. Lisa bit her lip to keep from crying out. Specimens. They had taken 20 people alive. The rest, all 342 of her friends and colleagues, lay dead throughout the colony. When the Vraxian ships finally departed, Lisa crawled from her hiding place. The colony's emergency beacon was damaged but still functional. She activated it, then collapsed beside it, waiting for rescue. 2 weeks later, Lisa stood before the United Earth Security Council on Earth. Her once vibrant red hair was dull, and her eyes held the vacant look of someone who had seen too much horror. "The data is conclusive," she said quietly. "The Vraxians weren't just attacking us. They were studying us, testing different weapons to see how our bodies reacted." General Kate Rivera, the newly appointed head of Earth's military forces, stepped forward. Ms. Kendrick also brought back something else, something the Vraxians didn't know she had access to. A holographic display activated, showing complex schematics of Vraxian technology. "The Vraxians linked to our systems before attacking," Lisa explained. "But connections work both ways. I managed to extract data from their ships, including details of their shielding technology." In a laboratory 5,000 miles away, scientist Alan Foster was having the most important revelation of his career. For 3 days straight, he had been analyzing the Vraxian data that Lisa had brought back. His small office was littered with empty coffee cups and food wrappers. "It can't be that simple," he muttered, staring at the equations floating in the air before him. "They're manipulating quantum fields, not just generating energy barriers." Alan tapped his tablet rapidly, fingers flying over the surface. "If they can do it, so can we. But we could do it better." He called his research partner, Dr. Sam Rivera. "Sam, I need you to look at this. I think I know how to not just copy their shields, but create something entirely new." Within days, Alan's team had built a prototype. The small device hummed softly as it was activated in a secure testing chamber. "Begin weapons test," ordered the range officer. A military-grade laser fired at the prototype. Instead of being blocked, the beam simply ceased to exist halfway to its target. "It's not blocking the energy," Alan explained to the astonished observers. "It's changing the quantum rules within that space. In that zone, the physics that allow the laser to function simply don't work anymore." News of the breakthrough spread quickly through Earth's leadership. For the first time, humanity had a technology that alien attackers wouldn't expect and couldn't easily counter. In a secure meeting room beneath Washington, world leaders gathered to discuss the implications. "With this technology, we can defend ourselves," said President Laura Baker. "But we need to do more than just react. We need to make sure this never happens again." General Rivera nodded. "The Mars colony wasn't the first attack. But I promise you, it will be the last time they catch us unprepared." The vote was unanimous. After decades of being victims, humanity would take a stand. The United Earth Defense Force was born with a clear mission: protect Earth at all costs, and send a message to the galaxy that humans were no longer easy prey. Nicole Wilson had never seen anything like the Tellurians before. The beings floated several inches above the floor of the meeting room, their bodies like swirling golden mist contained within vaguely humanoid shapes. They had no faces, yet Nicole sensed they were studying her intently. "We understand your position," said the central figure, its thoughts translating directly into Nicole's mind. "The Vraxians have violated our territories as well." As Earth's newly appointed ambassador to non-human species, Nicole knew this meeting could change humanity's future. She straightened her posture and looked directly at the shimmering beings. "Then you understand why we seek allies," she said. "Earth stands ready to defend itself, but we recognize the value of cooperation. The Tellurian leader moved closer, its golden form pulsing with light. Your species developed quantum disruption technology in mere months. This concerns many in the galaxy. Nicole nodded. We adapted quickly because we had to survive. But we don't seek conquest, only security. After hours of discussion, the Tellurians agreed to an alliance. In exchange for human assistance in protecting Tellurian outposts near Vraxian territory, they would share their advanced shield technology that could complement Earth's new weapons perfectly. As Nicole finalized the agreement, another human mission was underway in a distant sector of space. Captain Eric Daniels guided the stealth scout ship Venture through the dense asteroid field surrounding the Helix Confederation's hidden homeworld. His orders were clear but dangerous. Make contact with the reclusive species and propose an alliance. Proximity alert, called out his navigator, Ben Kelly. 2 patrol ships approaching fast. Eric remained calm. Hold position. Don't power weapons. The Helix ships, spiral-shaped vessels that rotated continuously, surrounded the human craft. A harsh voice came through the communication system. Human vessel, you have entered protected space. State your purpose immediately. Eric activated the visual communication link, showing his face to the Helix commanders. I am Captain Eric Daniels of Earth. We come seeking dialogue, not conflict. There was a long pause before the response came. Humans have never ventured this far. Why now? Because we face a common enemy, Eric replied. The Vraxians have attacked our worlds, just as they've encroached on yours. We propose a mutual defense agreement. 6 hours later, Eric stood before the Helix Council, a semicircle of tall, slender beings with spiral patterns etched into their silvery skin. Their large, multifaceted eyes regarded him with mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Your species was considered primitive, stated the head counselor. Yet you've developed technology that concerns even the oldest races. Why should we trust you won't use it against us once the Vraxian threat is eliminated? Eric stepped forward. Because unlike the empires that have dominated this galaxy, we don't seek to control others. We simply want to exist without fear. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's proposed defensive network, one that would protect both human and Helix territories. We don't ask you to fight our battles, Eric explained. We ask you to stand with us in creating a part of space where all peaceful species can exist without threat of invasion. The council members conferred among themselves, their spiraling patterns glowing as they communicated in their native language. Finally, the head counselor turned back to Eric. Your proposal has merit. The Helix Confederation will align with Earth, conditionally. As Eric secured the alliance, Nicole Wilson was already meeting with representatives from 3 other species who had reached out after hearing of Earth's stand against the Vraxians. For the first time, humanity wasn't alone in the cosmos. The alliance taking shape wasn't just about military strength. It represented a new possibility. A coalition of diverse species united not by conquest, but by the shared desire for peace and self-determination. Back on Earth, General Rivera received the reports from both missions with cautious optimism. It's a start, she told her staff, but we need to be ready. The Vraxians won't take this lying down. Captain Susan Blackwell stood on the bridge of the UESS Defiance, her hands clasped behind her back as she studied the tactical display. The massive screen showed the Proxima Centauri system, where intelligence had confirmed a Vraxian staging area. Dozens of enemy ships clustered around the system's 4th planet, preparing for what would undoubtedly be another attack on human territory. All systems ready, Captain, reported First Officer Kyle Martinez. Quantum disruption cannons are charged and targeting systems locked. Susan nodded, her expression serious. At 42, she had spent most of her career in Earth's modest Space Force. Now she commanded humanity's first true warship, a vessel that represented a technological leap beyond anything humans should possess. Open ship-wide communication, she ordered. The comm officer nodded, and Susan addressed her crew of 300. This is Captain Blackwell. For decades, humanity has been on the defensive. Today, that changes. The Vraxians in this system are preparing to attack our colonies. We will not wait for them to bring war to our homes again. She paused, looking around at her bridge crew. What we do today sends a message to every species in the galaxy. Humanity will no longer be prey. Remember the Mars colony. Murmurs of "Remember Mars" echoed across the bridge. Initiate jump sequence, Susan ordered. The Defiance's engines hummed as the ship accelerated to light speed, using the new drive technology reverse-engineered from captured alien vessels. The stars stretched into lines, then snapped back into place as the ship emerged in the Proxima Centauri system. "We've been detected," called out the sensor officer. "Vraxian vessels are moving to intercept." Susan's expression remained calm. "Deploy quantum sensor drones. I want complete coverage of their fleet movements." Small unmanned craft shot out from the Defiance, spreading across the system to provide tactical data. "Enemy ships forming attack pattern," reported Martinez. "They're surrounding us." The Vraxian commander's face appeared on the main screen. Gray skin, 4 eyes blinking independently, mandibles clicking in what humans had learned was a gesture of contempt. "Human vessel," the alien said, "your presence here violates Vraxian territorial claims. Surrender now and your crew will be taken for study rather than immediate termination." Susan smiled slightly. "This is Captain Susan Blackwell of Earth. We've come to deliver a message." She nodded to her weapons officer. "Fire disruption sequence Alpha." The Defiance's main weapons activated. Instead of conventional energy beams, they fired pulses that seemed to distort the very space they passed through. When they reached the lead Vraxian ships, something remarkable happened. The alien vessels didn't explode. Their shields didn't fail dramatically. Instead, their systems simply stopped working. Lights flickered out. Engines shut down. Weapons went offline. "What is this?" demanded the Vraxian commander, panic evident in his voice as his ship drifted powerless. "Quantum disruption technology," Susan explained calmly. "Within the affected zone, the physical laws that allow your technology to function have been temporarily altered." The remaining Vraxian ships opened fire, but the Defiance was protected by shields based on Tellurian technology. The enemy weapons had little effect. "Second wave. Target their command vessels," Susan ordered. More Vraxian ships went dark as the disruption field spread across their fleet. Those that attempted to flee found their engines failing as the disruption effect expanded through space. "Broadcast on all frequencies," Susan commanded. "Make sure every ship in this sector receives this message." She faced the camera directly. "To all spacefaring civilizations, humanity is no longer defenseless. We have suffered unprovoked attacks for too long. The Vraxian fleet you see before you plan to attack our worlds. Instead, they found us waiting." Susan's voice remained level, but her eyes were hard. "This is our first and final warning. Earth and its colonies are off limits. Any hostile action against humanity will be met with the same response you see here today. We seek peace, but we are prepared for war." Within hours, recordings of the battle spread across galactic communication networks. For the first time in known history, a supposedly primitive species had utterly defeated a major power without losing a single ship. The galaxy watched and wondered what would happen next. William Hayes stood before the Galactic Council, his tall frame tense with restrained emotion. Unlike Commander Harper, who had delivered Earth's ultimatum, Hayes was a diplomat, chosen to explain humanity's actions at Proxima Centauri. The chamber buzzed with angry voices as representatives from dozens of civilizations demanded explanations. "The human attack was unprovoked," shouted the Vraxian delegate, his scaled skin flushed dark purple with rage. "They violated sovereign territory and disabled a peaceful fleet." William waited for the translation systems to finish before responding. He tapped his data pad, and a large display behind him activated. "Peaceful?" he asked quietly. "Computer, show evidence file Mars 1." The screen filled with images from the Mars colony massacre. Bodies of men, women, and children lay scattered across habitation domes. Laboratory images showed humans being dissected while still alive. A hush fell over the chamber. These attacks occurred 6 months ago. William continued, his voice steady. Before this incident, Earth submitted 17 formal requests for protection to this council. All were ignored. The chief speaker, a tall being with crystalline features, leaned forward. The council regrets these events, but Earth's response threatens the stability of established galactic order. William nodded. An order that allowed powerful species to prey on developing worlds with no consequences. That order needed disruption. As William defended Earth's position in the Council, General Maria Ortiz walked through the new Global Defense Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Technicians from 20 nations worked side by side, monitoring a network of defense satellites and ground stations that formed Earth's last line of protection. Maria stopped beside a young engineer who was making adjustments to a holographic display of Earth's orbital defense grid. "Is the system ready, Mr. Chen?" she asked. Paul Chen looked up from his work, his eyes tired but determined. At 29, he was the youngest person ever to lead a global defense project, having designed much of the quantum disruption network. "Yes, General. The satellites are positioned and calibrated. If anything larger than a shuttle approaches Earth without authorization, we can create disruption fields at any orbital position." Maria nodded, studying the display. "And the ground-based systems, ready to deploy in case the orbital network fails," Paul confirmed. "We can create localized disruption fields around any population center within seconds." The general placed a hand on Paul's shoulder. "Good work. Get some rest. I have a feeling we'll need everyone at their best soon." Her prediction proved accurate. Within hours, long-range sensors detected multiple fleets entering the outer solar system. Not just Fraxians, but ships from 4 other aggressive empires that had previously viewed Earth as easy prey. In the council chamber, an aide whispered urgent news to William. His expression remained neutral as he absorbed the information. "It seems," he announced to the council, "that while we discuss peace, 5 separate fleets are currently approaching Earth with hostile intent." The chief speaker's crystalline features caught the light as he turned to face the representatives of the implicated empires. "Is this true?" None responded directly, but their silence was answer enough. William shook his head slightly. "We came here hoping for dialogue. Instead, you prove exactly why we developed these weapons in the first place." He activated his communication device. "General Ortiz, this is Hayes. You have full authorization to defend Earth by any means necessary." Back on Earth, Maria gave the command to activate the defense grid. In orbit, hundreds of satellites powered up, creating a web of quantum disruption fields ready to render enemy technology useless. "Send this message to all approaching vessels," Maria ordered. "Earth's defensive systems are now active. Any ship entering our defensive perimeter without authorization will be disabled." This is not a warning. It is a promise. As the message was transmitted, Maria looked at the determined faces of her international team. Humanity had been pushed too far, and now it would show the galaxy exactly what happened when a supposedly primitive species was forced to evolve rapidly for survival. The greatest test of Earth's new defenses and humanity's resolve was about to begin. Flight Commander Olivia Grant banked her fighter sharply as energy weapons fire streaked past her cockpit. Through her view screen, Earth's orbital space stations loomed against the backdrop of the blue planet, surrounded by the largest space battle in human history. "Alpha Squadron, form up on me," she ordered through her comm system. "We need to protect Station 4. They're targeting its power core." 12 Earth fighters fell into formation behind her as they raced toward the massive station. Around them, ships from 5 alien empires swarmed like angry insects, firing constantly at Earth's defenses. "They'd breached the outer perimeter," reported her wingman, Carl Davis. "How did they get through the disruption fields?" Olivia grimaced. "They sacrificed their frontline ships to map the field boundaries. Now they're exploiting the gaps." The invaders had arrived with over 300 vessels, clearly expecting an easy victory despite Earth's new technology. What they hadn't anticipated was humanity's willingness to adapt during battle. On the command station, General Maria Ortiz watched the tactical display with growing concern. Alien ships were penetrating the defensive grid faster than expected. "They're coordinating their attacks," she observed. "All 5 species working together." Paul Chen nodded, his fingers flying over his control panel. "They figured out that our disruption fields can't cover everything at once. We need to change tactics." Maria considered their options. The invaders outnumbered Earth's ships 10 to 1. Even with superior technology, they couldn't win a conventional battle. "Mr. Chen," she said finally, "it's time for the contingency plan." Paul's eyes widened slightly. "The mobile disruption network, we haven't fully tested it." "We have no choice," Maria replied. "Activate it." Paul entered his authorization code, then pressed his palm against the scanner. Deep beneath the surface in bunkers around the world, experimental generators powered up. In space, Olivia's squadron had reached Station 4 just as 3 large enemy cruisers approached it. Her fighters fired their conventional weapons, causing minimal damage to the alien shields. "This isn't working," she said through gritted teeth. "We need more firepower." Her tactical officer's voice came through her headset. "Commander Grant, return to minimum safe distance immediately. Command is deploying the network." Olivia didn't question the order. "All fighters, fall back. Emergency withdrawal pattern." As Earth's defenders pulled back, the alien ships pressed their advantage, moving closer to the station. Suddenly, Olivia's instruments began showing strange readings. "What's happening?" asked Carl. "My sensors are going crazy." Olivia watched in amazement as a visible wave of distortion spread outward from Earth. Unlike the fixed disruption fields they had used before, this was dynamic, flowing, and shifting like water. The effect on the invading fleet was immediate and devastating. Ships that had mapped safe corridors suddenly found themselves engulfed in disruption fields that moved unpredictably. Their engines failed. Weapons systems shut down. Life support flickered. "It's working," Paul whispered in the command center, watching as hundreds of enemy ships drifted powerless. "The mobile network is actually working." On her flagship, the Vraxian fleet commander Draxhuor slammed her 4 fists against her control panel as systems failed around her. "How are they doing this?" she demanded. "No developing species should possess this level of technology." Her science officer, struggling to maintain emergency power, looked up with all 4 eyes wide. "They're not just creating disruption fields anymore. They're changing the quantum rules of space itself in expanding patterns we cannot predict." Draxhuor watched helplessly as the largest invasion fleet ever assembled against a single planet drifted powerless, caught in humanity's trap. In the command center, Maria allowed herself a small smile as reports came in. Not a single Earth station had been destroyed. Casualties were minimal, and the invading forces were completely neutralized. "Send the message," she ordered. Throughout the disabled enemy fleet, communication systems suddenly reactivated, but only to receive a single transmission from Earth. On every ship, screens displayed Commander Jack Harper's face. "This was your only warning," he said simply. "The next fleet that enters our space without permission won't be disabled. They'll be eliminated. Earth is not your testing ground. It is not your resource. It is our home, and we will defend it." As Harper's message played, Olivia's fighters flew past the powerless alien armada. For the first time in history, humanity had decisively won a battle against multiple advanced civilizations simultaneously. The galaxy would never be the same. Jack Harper stood once again before the Galactic Council, but everything had changed. Where before he had been viewed as a representative of a minor species making bold claims, now he commanded the complete attention of every being in the massive chamber. "The evidence is irrefutable," Jack said, his voice clear and strong as he gestured to the display behind him. "These records, gathered from the ships that attacked Earth, show a coordinated effort by 5 major powers to exploit developing worlds. The display showed thousands of documented cases, not just attacks on Earth, but systematic harvesting of resources and life forms from dozens of pre-spaceflight civilizations across the galaxy. For centuries, your council has claimed to protect all intelligent life, Jack continued. Yet you've allowed the strong to prey on the weak, ignoring appeals for help when they came from species you deemed unimportant. The chief speaker rose, crystalline features catching the light. The council acknowledges these oversights. What does Earth propose? Jack stepped forward, placing a data crystal on the central platform. A new treaty, one with actual enforcement mechanisms, one that recognizes the right of all intelligent species to develop without interference or exploitation. As the council members reviewed Earth's proposal, Director Ryan Mitchell walked through the newly constructed Sentinel Command Facility in the Arizona desert. The sprawling complex housed Earth's first line of defense against future threats and its primary diplomatic outreach center. Ryan stopped beside a window overlooking the training grounds, where human and alien personnel worked together. Tellurian energy forms instructed human engineers on shield harmonics. Helix tactical officers demonstrated advanced navigation techniques to Earth pilots. It's quite a sight, isn't it? Asked Dr. Sam Rivera, joining him at the window. Ryan nodded. 6 months ago, we thought we were alone in defending ourselves. Now we have allies from 12 different species. Fear brings some allies, Sam noted, but respect brings better ones. Across the complex, in the diplomatic wing, Nicole Wilson welcomed representatives from 3 previously unknown civilizations. The species, one aquatic, one gaseous, and one with a silicon-based biology, had been hiding from the dominant powers for centuries. Earth's stand against the major empires has given us hope, said the silicon being through its translator. If you succeeded, perhaps we too can emerge from hiding. Nicole smiled. That's exactly why we've established the Sentinel program. Not just to defend Earth, but to help other developing worlds protect themselves. In orbit above Earth, the UES Defiance prepared for its new mission. Captain Susan Blackwell reviewed her orders as her crew made final preparations. This isn't about projection of power, she told her officers. It's about establishing a presence that says Earth is watching and ready to respond to threats against any protected world. Back in the council chamber, the vote was complete. By an overwhelming majority, the Galactic Council had approved Earth's proposed treaty. Jack watched as the chief speaker formally activated the agreement, sending its provisions to every recognized world in the galaxy. The Treaty of Sol is now in effect, announced the chief speaker. All signatories agree to respect the development of pre-spaceflight civilizations and to cease exploitation of developing worlds. Jack nodded in satisfaction. And Earth will lead the enforcement effort through our Sentinel program. Any violation of this treaty will be met with the same response the invasion fleet received. As Jack left the chamber, he was met by William Hayes. They actually agreed. William said, looking somewhat surprised. I didn't think they would actually vote for it. Jack smiled slightly. When you demonstrate that you can disable every ship in a battle fleet without firing a single destructive shot, people tend to listen more carefully to your diplomatic proposals. On Earth, celebrations broke out as news of the treaty spread. For the first time, humanity had security, not just through its own technology, but through a galactic agreement with real consequences for violators. In his office at Sentinel Command, Ryan Mitchell looked at the map of known developing civilizations that would now be protected. Some were centuries from discovering spaceflight. Others were close to their first interstellar journeys. We were almost destroyed before we could reach the stars, he said quietly. No other species should face that threat. He activated the communication system, contacting the first Sentinel monitoring outposts being established near vulnerable worlds. Earth's message to the galaxy had evolved from a warning to a promise. The age of exploitation was over, and a new order had begun. The legacy. 5 years after the Treaty of Sol was signed, Ryan Mitchell stood on the observation deck of Sentinel Station Alpha, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The massive space station served as headquarters for humanity's growing peacekeeping force and diplomatic corps. "Director Mitchell, they're ready for you," said his assistant, Diane Lewis. Ryan nodded and straightened his uniform. Today marked an important milestone, the first graduation ceremony for the Interspecies Sentinel Academy. 200 cadets from 37 different worlds had completed their training. They would soon deploy throughout the galaxy as peacekeepers and observers. As Ryan entered the main assembly hall, he was struck by the diversity before him. Beams of all shapes, sizes, and biological compositions stood in neat formations. Some breathed methane, others absorbed radiation for nourishment, yet all wore the same silver and blue uniform of the Sentinel program. "When we founded this academy," Ryan began, addressing the graduates, "many doubted it could succeed. They said different species could never truly work together, that old rivalries would prevent cooperation." He gestured to the assembled cadets. "You have proven them wrong. Each of you came here because you believe all intelligent life deserves the chance to develop without fear." In the front row, Kira, a young officer from a world that had nearly been stripped of resources by the Vraxians, stood tall despite her small stature. Her planet had been one of the first to join Earth's coalition of protected worlds. Meanwhile, far from Earth, Jack Harper was meeting with representatives from the former aggressive empires. In the 5 years since the treaty, Earth had carefully balanced firmness with fairness in its enforcement. "The trade routes through the Cygnus sector will remain open to all signatories," Jack explained, pointing to star charts. "But the monitoring stations will ensure no weapons are transported near developing worlds." The Vraxian ambassador, once among Earth's fiercest opponents, reluctantly nodded agreement. "Your sensors are troublingly effective. We could not bypass them if we tried." Jack smiled slightly. "That's the point, Ambassador. Trust through verification." Back on Earth, in the laboratories beneath the Arizona desert, Alan Foster and Paul Chen worked on the next generation of defensive technology. Their goal was not to create more powerful weapons, but to develop systems that could protect without harming. "The dimensional shield is holding," Paul reported as they tested a prototype. "It doesn't just block attacks, it redirects the energy harmlessly." Alan nodded, watching the readings. "Perfect. This will allow us to protect worlds without the risk of collateral damage from reflected weapon fire." In the diplomatic wing of Sentinel headquarters, Nicole Wilson welcomed a delegation from a newly discovered civilization. The insectoid beings had achieved spaceflight just months earlier and had been shocked to discover the vast galactic community beyond their world. "We expected to be conquered," admitted their lead representative through a translator. "Our telescopes showed us the great armadas that once dominated nearby systems." Nicole smiled warmly. "Those days are past. Under the Treaty of Soul, your species has the right to develop at your own pace. No one will interfere with your cultural evolution or exploit your resources." The lead insectoid's antennae quivered with what Nicole had learned was their expression of relief. "And Earth guarantees this protection." "Earth and 36 other worlds," Nicole corrected gently. "We're not an empire. We're simply the founders of a new approach to galactic relations." As evening fell over Sentinel Station Alpha, Ryan Mitchell watched the new graduates board ships bound for their first assignments. Each vessel would carry observers to monitor protected worlds and respond to any violations of the treaty. His communication device chimed with an incoming message from Susan Blackwell, now Admiral of Earth's defensive fleet. "The outer sensor network just picked up an unusual energy signature," Susan reported. "It appears to be a form of propulsion we've never encountered before." Ryan's expression remained calm. "First contact with a new species." "Possibly," Susan replied. "Whatever it is, it's traveling at incredible speed toward the Sol system." Ryan nodded. "Alert the diplomatic corps and place the defense grid on standby. But keep weapons systems inactive." He ended the call and looked again at Earth below, thinking about how far humanity had come. Once nearly victims of galactic predators, they now stood as protectors of developing worlds. Whatever this new encounter might bring, Earth would face it with wisdom gained from its own difficult journey to the stars.